Ahsoka viewership has fallen off the Nielsen overall top 10 chart in its second week on the charts, and we're looking at numbers that are nearly identical to Andor that was, quote, chasing the audience. So let's get into this here. Just to give you a recap, in its first week of release, the first two episodes of Ahsoka racked up 829 million minutes, which was good for fifth on Nielsen's top 10 overall chart. You can see it right there, fifth on the overall chart behind Suits, Who is Aaron Carter, Bluey, and Grey's Anatomy. With the release of the show's third episode, Time to Fly, the series has fallen off Nielsen's overall top 10 chart, with Suits remaining at the top and Netflix's One Piece claiming the second spot from Who is Aaron Carter. Other newcomers to the top 10 included Netflix's You Are So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah, SWAT, and The Big Bang Theory. You can see the top 10 overall right there on your screen. In order to find Ahsoka, one has to look at Nielsen's top 10 originals list, where the series took the fifth spot with 487 million minutes viewed. It was best by One Piece, Who is Aaron Carter, The Ultimatum, Marry or Move On, and The Wheel of Time over on Prime Video. So you can see the top 10 originals chart. It did beat Only Murders in the Building, Ragnarok, The Lincoln Lawyer, Live to 100, Secrets of the Blue Zones, and Special Ops Lioness over on Paramount+. Interestingly, if one does a simple minutes viewed divided by the runtime, one would think that Ahsoka's viewership might have increased by nearly 5 million people. In the first week, the first two episodes were released with a total runtime of 101 minutes. If you plug in 829 million minutes viewed to that equation, that comes to 8.2 million. Using the same equation for the third episode, you would divide 487 million minutes by 37 minutes, the runtime of the third episode, and get 13.1 million. So again, that's around 5 million more people, you would think, viewed it. However, YouTuber and financial analyst Valiant Renegade points out that Nielsen's reporting is not just tracking watch time for the third episode, but includes the previous two episodes as well for that week. He states, and then there's the question of how many times were those first two episodes rewatched in the second measurement week to get up to episode 3, or how many new people came in this week having never seen episode 1 and 2 in the first week of release and catching it now. All of that factors into that 487 million minutes watched, meaning that number is not strictly the third episode. That's the cumulative total of every bit of consumption of Ahsoka from Monday morning at midnight through the end of the second week. He then provided an example saying, to give you an example, let's say 15% of that watch time, that 487 million minutes, were people who either watched the first two episodes for the first time or people who went back and reconsumed those first two episodes a second time in anticipation of watching the third. He then asserts that brings the actual watch time for this third episode way down, and that's at only 15%. And then he speculates, what could it be if it's 25%? Let's say that number was 25%. Interestingly, the Nielsen numbers covering the week of Ahsoka's third episode are similar to what we saw from Andor. Back in September of last year, Andor's premiere week, which saw the release of the show's first 3 episodes, saw the show bring in 624 million minutes. It placed 6th on Nielsen's original chart, failing to break into the top 10 on the overall chart. So you can see here, when the first 3 episodes debuted in its first week on the Nielsen chart, 624 million minutes for those first 3 episodes. In Andor's second week, the series only brought in 485 million minutes, according to Nielsen. That's nearly identical to Ahsoka's 489 million minutes. Obviously, 4 million difference there, but pretty close, right? 485, 489, right? You can see that here from Mac, who shared a screenshot of it over on X. You can see Andor, 4 episodes released, 485 million minutes right there. That was good for 6th on the original chart for the week that it came out. September, was that 28th, I think? Or 26th to October 2nd, I think. How did Andor showrunner Tony Gilroy react to the viewership numbers? Well, he told Variety, I think I was surprised. I thought the show would go the other way, that we would have this gigantic instantaneous audience that would just be everywhere, but that it would take forever for non-Star Wars people or critics or my cohort of friends to get involved in the show. The opposite happened. We ended up with all this critical praise, all this deep appreciation and understanding from a really surprising number of sources, and we're chasing the audience. So he was chasing the audience with that 485 million. One would think that Ahsoka clearly is probably chasing the audience too, with only 489 million in its second week on the Nielsen charts. Given Gilroy claimed Andor was chasing the audience and it had nearly identical performance to Ahsoka in its second week on the Nielsen charts, it calls into question Lucasfilm's praise of the series' viewership in reaction to Samba TV's report that Ahsoka was indeed performing at Andor levels. If you recall, Samba TV reported the latest new Star Wars series, Ahsoka, finally hit screens with 1.2 million U.S. households watching over its first 6 days. This is similar to viewership of Andor's premiere season and slightly lower than The Mandalorian's third season premiere over its first 6 days. So in response to this, Lucasfilm declared, Lucasfilm and the Walt Disney Company are thrilled and humbled to announce that Part 1 of Ahsoka Master and Apprentice was the most watched title on Disney Plus this past week. The debut episode garnered 14 million views, making the series #1 globally on the streaming platform. Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy added, Ahsoka has become a fan favorite with people of all ages, and it's wonderful to see her continue to resonate with viewers in her very own headlining series. She concluded, I want to recognize the fantastic work done by our creative team, led by Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, the incredible cast, led by Rosario Dawson, and our talented crew. And on behalf of the team and all of Lucasfilm, we give our thanks to all the fans who have been with Ahsoka on every step of her journey, and to all those who are just learning about her now in Ahsoka on Disney+. YouTuber WDW Pro reacted to this in a recent video, uploaded and called the Walt Disney Company out, saying, perhaps this will catch the ire of investors now. Disney has done something more severe. And this is at the same time that we've had all this arguing over ratings and how writers and actors are going to know the ratings for shows and be benefited based on that, and how advertisers are going to know the ratings for shows so they can pay the right amounts and not be deceived and not paying incorrect values for shows that are popular or unpopular. So obviously talking about the WGA and the SAG-AFTRA and their demands about getting information from the studios on how well these shows are actually performing on the streaming services. Disney is out there giving us information that does not line up with anything else we're hearing. Samba TV, I give you a gold star on this. You got it right. And unfortunately, Disney probably knew that as they were maligning what you said. And that is a bad, bad mouse. So I will give Disney a little bit of the benefit of the doubt here, because if you just go back up there, we'll go back up here a little bit. It was 14 million views globally, and Nielsen obviously is only tracking North American views. But I would assume that most of Ahsoka's viewership would be coming from North America rather than outside of that, because that's just kind of where Star Wars plays. If you look at the movies and stuff like that, Star Wars just it really does play for the most part in North America compared to other other places around the globe. So I do think this is really bad news that you're looking at Andor levels, and you had Tony Gilroy admitting that they were chasing the audience. That show has also been significantly reduced in what it was supposed to be. It was originally announced as a 5-season show. It has now been reduced to 2. So I don't think that's looking really good for Ahsoka. If you look at how Andor had to significantly contract what it was supposed to be doing, that's probably part of the cost-cutting measures that Bob Iger is instituting across the board. We've seen Kevin Feige confirm this over at Marvel Studios, where he said that he confirmed that they were going to be reducing the amount of shows they make, as well as reducing the cost of those shows. Clearly, I think Andor has been victim of that, and I would not be surprised if Ahsoka falls victim to that too. And then what's interesting about Ahsoka is that calls into question whether or not the Dave Filoni Mandalorian-verse movie will be as successful as what they hope it might be when it comes to theaters. I have a feeling that the audience really is not going to be there for that movie, as we're already seeing massive declines from The Mandalorian Season 3, and now we're seeing really bad declines with Ahsoka here in its first season. People just don't seem to be interested in this type of storytelling that Star Wars is doing, and for good reason. The show just is kind of an insult to the audience. It's just absolutely terrible. Nearly every scene in the most recent episode just has you kind of like scratching your head and asking, why did they do that? Why is this person doing that? Why is this person so stupid? Or even sometimes you're just saying like, wow, this is just dumb. This is just stupid. Who thought this was a good idea? Why did no one catch this? And when you're asking those questions while watching the show, you clearly are not immersed in it. You're not even suspending your disbelief anymore. You've clearly created a bad product for those viewers, such as myself, because you have indeed broken immersion, and that is not a good sign for any storyteller, right? You want to immerse your audience in your shows, in your books, whatever storytelling medium you are using, and I just don't think Ahsoka has done that, and it does seem like viewers are recognizing that, and they are tuning out. But let me know what you think about these viewership numbers. What do you make of it falling towards Andor levels in just its second week?
Subscribe for more.